Hello and welcome to episode 109 of Retro Encounter, RPG fans' very celebratory podcast, and particularly celebratory this month. I'm your host Alana Hagues, and I'm kicking off a whole month of celebrations for Final Fantasy. That's right, throughout the site, for the podcast, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy all through the month of November in the lead up to its the first game's 30th birthday in December in Japan. I'm really excited because this episode is one of my favorite games of all time. It's number 2 on my list. I don't know what position it takes on anybody else's list here, but people will remember that, I'm not sure, it was about a year ago, we did a poll on the site, on the podcast, just to see what our favourite Final Fantasy game was. And there was one winner on this poll, and it makes the first of our 4 Final Fantasy anniversary episodes, and that is Final Fantasy IX. Woo!
Yay!
Yay! That's right.
That song has just become haunting at this point. It's wonderful.
My PS4.
Spamming for something good.
Yeah, my PS4 at the moment, every time it loads up, it plays that. I'm just like, stop. It's so good. Anyway, we're all very excited to talk about this game.
Oh, Iroha. That's her name.
Well...
It's still Final Fantasy related.
I know who it is. Yeah. Right, we were discussing before the podcast started, Steph's working on something quite special. You may well have seen it by this point, by the time the podcast goes up. But yeah, she was trying to remember the name of a character and she got it, so... Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry I interrupted. But anyways, yes,
that's fine. Let's do this. Let me introduce you properly first, because I just kind of jumped around there. I am joined by someone who joined me on that podcast for the greatest Final Fantasy game ever, Steph Sybydlo.
Hi!
And joined by one of our newcomers who has just recently finished another playthrough of Final Fantasy IX for another feature for this wonderful month, Keegan Lee.
Hello,
Hi!
Good to be back.
Yay! It's all of the returners from the GameCube episode.
Oh, that was a good episode. Oh yeah, hey, we did that one.
I know.
Yeah, we just pick good subjects to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
no garbage.
I think in real life we'd be okay friends.
We'd be okay. Yeah, I think so too.
This isn't real life.
Yay. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about Final Fantasy IX. As I opened up with, it's my second favourite video game of all time. It's for definite my favourite Final Fantasy game. And
it stands up at 2.
It really does stand up. It as seen by the PS4 remaster. I mean, that is fantastic, and I'm so glad that it's come out before we got to do this podcast. It means that Keegan, I mean, I think you said it before, you've actually replayed the PS4 version, haven't you, for this feature that you're working on?
Yep, it holds up perfectly, and some of the quality of life things that are added to the PS4 version just make it even so much better. Fast forward buttons are needed in every RPG.
Yes.
Yeah, it fixed.
Chrono Cross is really ahead of the ball with that one.
Oh yeah, it was.
I will say though, you can break the game at certain points with the fast forward button in 9.
Oh god.
Oh yeah, you could get Excalibur with it, right? Like it doesn't really count it.
You can get it so easily. Also, the Festival of the Hunt. You'll go fast, the battles will go fast, the timer will still be the exact same timer.
Yes.
Oh, that feels like a fun oversight.
Yeah.
That even after they're just like, you know what, leave it in.
I
think so.
Killed everything in the hunt, and I mean, I killed everything and still stood around for 4 minutes.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I want to talk about that timer as well for when we get onto a specific topic, because I read something about something quite similar to that, where the timer doesn't speed up. But anyway, I want to ask everybody how they kind of first experienced Final Fantasy IX and what makes it so special, and then we're basically just going to gush praise all over it, most likely. I'd like to think so, otherwise then people might not be leaving this podcast alive. But anyway, so Steph, since I know you were on the episode with me, what is your history with Final Fantasy IX, and why do you think it deserves so much praise, and why do you think it's had this kind of renaissance recently?
I don't know. It was sort of an awkward start, right? Because I think they released Final Fantasy VII to a lot of hype, FF8 to a little less hype, and then they released Final Fantasy IX just less than a year later, and it's just kind of a lot of people didn't really know how to feel about it since 8 showed a lot more newer stuff, and 7 was a good direction, so 9 taking it back was just kind of awkward. But I remember I kept playing it, and I just kept liking it. And then when I got a bit older, I thought I understood it better.
It
was awkward. It was a slow love, but it burns hard like fire too.
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah, Final Fantasy IX came at a really weird time where I probably referred to it before, that there was a period of RPGs that wanted to be a bit quote unquote grittier, and then there's this kind of, I can't remember the specific American release date, but there was a day in 2000 where Final Fantasy IX and another RPG came out, and they're both like, oh yay, these two are really special to me, and they both really kind of have this positive, bright atmosphere that kind of contradicts those older, grittier RPGs, and it's a really good balance. 9 has a good balance, and I think people initially took the cutesy as not good, which is totally wrong, because actually it's one of the more serious and darker Final Fantasies when you get to the bottom of it, which I think we're going to get to, and definitely something I want to talk about.
I think cutesy was kind of really looked down upon, like during the mid and early 2000s. Like, if you remember, going a little off topic, Wind Waker's release, how many people really put that down just because of the graphics?
Yeah.
And yet, Wind Waker still holds up to this day if you play it on the GameCube.
It does. Even this.
They really kind of delivered well on it, though, because it let them be a lot more goofier, and the ATs are something I think are still sorely missed by the series, or doing something like it.
Yeah.
It was just fun goofing around in that game. That's what I really liked.
Yeah, so like
there's a few times you're just given leeway to just go walk around and talk and explore, and I like that.
Yeah, you don't see it enough. Like, the only other series that really do similar things are Star Ocean, that does private actions, and Tales, which does skits, and even then I feel like 9s are quite different because they are 3D and there's take you away from certain characters, and they're quite light as well. There's not many of them that are that serious, which they just take you away from the action a little bit, and I think, yeah, I do miss them. You don't ever get them anymore, and it's like, I don't know, like, not many games have taken by many things from Final Fantasy IX in the series since, but
I also feel like a mothership title really won't go in that direction again.
No, exactly.
They'll leave it to a spin-off and just do a World of Final Fantasy thing with it.
Yeah, I think the direction that 13 and 15 have gone in have probably proved that, but yeah, not necessarily in a bad way.
No.
14 still likes to goof around, I've noticed.
Yeah, 14 does goof around a lot, for definite. So, Keegan, what's your history with 9, and kind of the same questions I posed to Steph?
So, 9 was actually my first Final Fantasy that I got to play. I really wasn't aware much of the series before, so, like, a friend in elementary school, I think? Yeah, I was around elementary school, had introduced it to me, and it was like, oh, wow, this game's cool, you get to fight monsters with swords, like, this is my first experience of this is great! Swords are cool, man. But yeah, it's definitely always stayed something personal in my heart, and it's even helped me make connections with friends later in life. Being like, oh, you played Final Fantasy IX also? You can never find that. It's like, oh yeah, this character, this story event, everyone's dying. It's great.
Yeah.
But I like that it actually does go back, though, because, I don't know, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 kind of took themselves quite seriously, so it's kind of nice they really went back. They did away with technology completely and just made something a lot more simpler and a bit more kind of true to how the old school series looked like, but they made it look so much better. It looks so full. And the entire Mist continent is just a blast to explore because it's so teeming with weird NPCs and, kind of cool secrets everywhere.
Yeah. It's a really, really glorious overworld. But yeah, no, I don't know if I've said it yet, but it was also my first Final Fantasy to play. I'd watched probably said this as well on the podcast, I've watched my mum and my brother play through 7 and 8, and also watched my mum play through 9. 9 was the first one that I got to play. It was after I'd started playing RPGs, and she went, oh, you should try this one, and 9 was in the pile. And so I thought, oh, I recognise Final Fantasy, I'll give it a go. And obviously since then, it's kind of history really. 9 has been one of the most important video games in my life, probably, just because, I don't know, it's just, I've had this really weird connection with it, and I think it taught me a lot of things. Like, it was the first, I grew up playing Pokemon and played Dark Cloud, and a lot of these RPGs that didn't really have any morals or story, and 9 was one of the ones that had the kind of connecting thread of teaching you something. And I'm doing a separate feature on the site that goes with this, which will touch on that, and about life and death, and so it kind of taught me about that, and in particular with one character, but all of them, they're all searching for some kind of purpose or anything. But
so you've been playing Final Fantasy since like one of the first games, right? So I kind of go with like how the mainstream kind of felt at the time, where it was just kind of like a bit of a slow burn at first.
Yeah.
But you guys kind of came into it first, and you just loved it more. That said, I still love it. I still pretty sure I ranked it as my #1 favorite. You know, but I think it's interesting that we all have a kind of different story going on it.
Yeah, that's what makes it really good. But yeah, I don't know whether, do you know why maybe that it might have caused, like, because you played obviously more of the original ones before that, did that really affect your opinion, you think? Or, because I know like a lot of people said at the time, like, oh, it's not as good as 7 or something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know it either. Like I said, I just think it took, I needed some time for some of the kind of deeper morals inside of it to kind of sink in a bit better. I don't really have a good answer, really. But I did always know I just knew it was something special. And like as I got older, I kind of realized a few more of what it was trying to say, or even some of the cameos. Like your first 4-person party in the game is exact same as Final Fantasy 1's, right? It's a knight, a black mage, a white mage, and a thief.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of the little things like that, or, just when you're reading the characters and you're kind of getting a better sense of, their story, you just kind of grow to love it a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just didn't really think I was a good critical judge of video games back when I was 12.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, me neither. No. So then, so obviously Final Fantasy IX is very special to everybody, and I've briefly touched on it with certain characters making certain points very meaningful, very important to the game, very important series-wide and iconic beyond that. So I want to start off with the characters because I think the cast is fairly good overall. I mean, I don't want to nitpick too much because I want to celebrate this game, but there are a couple of quibbles that maybe I have. But I think I will start with Keegan this time. So do you have a favourite character, or is there anything that particularly stands out about this cast to you?
I do have a favorite character, and it's... Every time I talk to a Final Fantasy IX fan, I never seem to have the same favorite character, but I love Steiner.
Yes!
Oh, yes!
With all my... Okay, so...
You're in good company.
I really connect with Steiner's arc throughout the entire story, where he bases his entire worthiness and everything about himself on his service to the Queen. And of course, when you meet the Knights of Pluto, which he commands, and kind of how like every other male leader is seen in Alexandria as kind of, they're not that great.
A bit more comedy relief.
Yeah, they're definitely...
Yeah, all the women in the kingdom seem to be on top of things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Perfect.
Just refreshing, in my opinion. But, like, just...
There's cookie crumbs in the pocket.
Yeah.
Oglops. They're all scared of Oglops.
They're all scared of Oglops. I like the two that kind of run in when they've been de-armored, they're just in their little pants.
Yeah, do they have love hearts on them as well?
They got, Steiner, who's just kind of clunking around and making that stupid, awful noise, running around the palace.
Yeah, listening to him is horrible.
It's just too funny.
It's endearing.
It actually uses physical comedy, and I think Steiner is one of the reasons I like this. For a PlayStation title without really impressive graphical capabilities, they do some really awesome physical comedy with him.
Yes,
they really do.
And I actually think that translates really well to just having witty dialogue, like I know a lot of games try to do. But yeah, I always found his physical comedy just translates really, really well.
Yeah, like one of the first FMVs, when Zidane is trying to, capture Garnet, we see him flying through the air and then immediately smack into the side of a castle. Like,
I like how serious he looks for a split second before he realizes something's gone wrong. He's like, I got this.
even though he's definitely one of the comedic reliefs in this game, I think his change once he realizes Queen Braun's intentions and having to choose between protecting the princess and following his duty, I think it's like a real... That's like, holy cow, it's so dividing for him.
Yeah, like he goes
horrible.
through a lot. It's a pretty heavy emotional arc, and I'm happy that it's still just a little bit silly when he professes his love to Beatrix in a way.
Yes!
As he's kind of realizing it. Like, he's still a goofball. Like, I won't let anyone hurt you, Beatrix! It's just goofy, and she's still kind of serious and formal and graceful.
But then the fights in Alexandria when it's just him and Beatrix.
Oh, so...
And he's like, I gotta tell you something. She's like, save it. You go into battle. He goes into trance. It's like, oh!
Yeah!
So good!
He hits a Super Saiyan moment of the episode.
He goes
Yeah.
Super Saiyan.
One of my favorite parts with him too is like during the play when him, Zidane, and Garnet are kind of thrown up on the stage, or should I say Zidane to respect Alana?
It's French. It's a French name.
Well, I still say Tita, so that makes me feel better.
Is like when they're all put up on the platform and Steiner thinks everything that's happening on stage is real and is kind of just starstruck by what's happening, and they pretend to stab Garnet just as part of like a show will go on moment, and Steiner thinks it's real and he's losing his mind.
It was so good. He's just crying there for about 2 minutes, and then she gets up and he's like, what's going on? You died! It's like,
Oh my god.
He's so unself-aware.
Yeah. A dumb choice to pick because he is largely comic relief, but I think he's a really good choice for this in terms of what they were trying to do with him. I think they succeeded.
Really. He's a great subversion on the Knight, because the Knight is the stoic, kind of silent, brave
it did take a few replays for me to really like Garnet, but I do like how, conflicted, and same with her, she goes through a pretty good arc of like talking regal, even like the small things, talking regal to kind of taking it back a bit. She has to act stupider, or not stupider, but talk less formal.
Yeah, I like the bit where, this is kind of jumping ahead now, where Zidane tells Vivi to say, get off me, you scumbag, and then she does it with a delayed reaction later on, and it's like, it's very cute to watch her kind of try and blend in. But
I also like Kina for just being Kina, being simple.
Yeah.
And really taking what she wants in life and taking no other issues with it.
Yep, she can't eat it, or it can't eat it, sorry. If it can't eat it, then it's not worth it, really. I mean, Kina's kind of...
There's no character more true to themselves than Kina, and I think that's almost inspirational.
Yeah.
There's two things in the world, things you can eat and things you can't eat. That's my life motto.
Yep, very good.
And I think they actually kind of helped out a character who, I think it was Viva, who was just kind of down and blue at the time, and it just kind of helps him put his head on straight and stop doting on things.
Yeah.
It's silly, but it totally worked.
I like the bit, I think it must be in Alexandria Castle, and you're wandering around as Steiner or Zidane or somebody, and you go into the kitchen by accident, and it's in there, and it's like, oh, I can't smell any food or anything, and you're just like, what is this? And then later on you get it as a party member, and you're like, what on earth? But Kina is very, very useful, and we'll go on.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, very useful. But Steiner,
I think it's cool that you can pick when you want to take her on, though.
Yeah, definitely. I always take him. I always take it, he, she on the first time you can get him. So after.
I love the game doesn't really specify what gender it is. It's like S/HE.
Yeah, it's good. I'm always like
she, he.
I always go she to balance out the party, and then I'm always like...
Yeah, I go Shahi sometimes.
Shahi. Shahi's good. Right, we'll do Shahi. But no, Kina is great.
A little off topic, but I do miss Final Fantasy VII's cursing. I always thought that was really funny.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they better bring her back.
Yeah.
Because it used it only for the characters who would really probably talk like that in real life. Who would talk with their bad words in real life.
Yeah. I mean, one of the Moogles does swear. So it's the one in the ice cave, isn't it? Where you burn it out and she goes, you bastards! And it's like...
I was going to say, to be fair, we did set that little powder puff on fire, so...
We did, yeah.
But we saved them.
We did.
Oh, did you ever do... Like, there's so many little Easter eggs in this game, too, but did you ever piss off the save Moogle on the field?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Many times.
So for those not in the know, if you keep calling the Moogle without actually saving, it actually starts getting a little upset and threatens to delete your save file. It doesn't go through on it, but
It's actually a
It's
trophy
fine.
in the PS4 version. If you piss off the Moogle enough times, you get a trophy.
Do you?
Yeah.
We'll be rewarded for these things. What was it? I think Freya's really good as like a straight character, and even Amarant, who I know a lot of people ask why is he there, but I think he's good as a straight character to kind of contextualize the weirdness of the party.
Yeah, I think Amarant is definitely my least favourite of the party just because of his general lack of involvement, but he does kind of act as Zidane's opposite.
Still fine.
Yeah,
like
he's still
pretty high bar for characters for an overall character I don't like. Like if I'm thinking of bad characters, I think Star Ocean 4. And how there's nobody I really like, only characters I dislike the least.
Yes, that's an entirely different episode. I could spend all day moaning about that cast.
I like Amarant the least, but I still like him.
Yeah, I mean, you said Freya as well, and Freya is, I'd say my favorite.
There's still that nice bit where he doesn't do a victory pose until you have that kind of one-off chat with him in Ibsen's Paradise.
Yes.
I do like that. That's a long time as well. That's like a whole disc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He does not. He is very slow to warm up.
Yeah. I really, really like Freya. She's probably one of my favourite female characters in the whole series. I mean, that's just because I'm biased and really, really like female dragoons and female lance users. But she has
I really love that the Final Fantasy series loves doing that female dragoon as much as the male too.
Yeah, but
they really put up for grabs on both of them.
She has such a cool design. So she has a rat, and I'm really envious.
Too. I love when they have different raced characters in games too. Like Breath of Fire made the most work out of this.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's really cool when you do get to kind of control something of a completely different shape on screen.
Yeah,
I don't know, is that weird?
That's a good way of saying it. I like that. But Freya, she loses her importance in the second half of the game, which always makes me a little bit sad. But I do like her story for the end of Disc 1, and the end of Disc 1 is probably my favourite part in the entire game, where you're going through Burmecia, and it's raining, and you're saving all the children, and you're seeing her crack slowly. Yeah, like, you see her crack, and, like, there's that bit where you fight Beatrix for the first time, and the first time I played it, I didn't know you had to get her down to a certain percentage of health. I was like, oh, I've died. I probably have to. No, I think... no, I'm dead. That entire cutscene, especially the end bit where Kuja pops up and he flies off on the Dragoon and then the rain is falling over Freya, and just sticks in my head so vibrantly because, I don't know, she's a really, really tragic character, and she never really she kind of accepts fate in the end, because obviously she's chasing after her boyfriend.
But I love that she starts again despite that, right? Like, not everybody had the happiest ending, but it's fine. You can still go on.
Exactly. She did get to start again with him, which was good. But
even though he doesn't remember, he falls in love with her again.
I know.
Yeah.
True love wins.
It's so cute. Yeah. I really, really like Freya. I've got a soft spot for her.
Channing Tatum. That's the plot of one of his movies, right?
I think so. Probably. So we just connected Channing Tatum with Final Fantasy IX.
5 degrees of Final Fantasy IX.
We have...
Yeah, Bow, that was it. Except she was all weird, and she was like, I don't know if I want to be with Channing Tatum. It's like, no, I want to be with Mr. Pratley. He sounds like a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
I think the other really tragic, unsolved... I don't know, there's a few plot elements in the game's undercooked, and I thought Puck being, like, some sort of renegade prince was odd.
Yeah.
And never talked about again.
I know. Does he...
Like, shit, it's the prince! Hey! It's like, I gotta go. Oh. Bye.
Oh, yeah, he pops up, like, at the beginning, and then he just pops up again in Clara, I think? And then you see him one more time, I think, and then that's kind of it, and you're just like, you're Prince of Nowhere anymore, which is sad.
Has been destroyed, so I think he's just kind of taking advantage of the situation and running off before it gets worse.
I think so as well.
Or it's gotta start the hard work.
Yeah.
There's something I just realized that doesn't make sense to me about the game. So, in the game, Freya's been searching for her lover, Sir Fratley, for years. I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does this 5-year-old child manage to find him when this trained soldier who's been searching and knows this man better than anybody else could not find him? I just realized that.
It's like the same stroke of luck that let him meet Vivi that eventually led him to the party that is crashing the Alexandrian Theater.
Princess
I do love
Love.
that, actually. That whole opening sequence is like a how everybody got to the party thing.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, because they all got there by some strange, extenuating circumstances, and it's really cool to follow up. Of all of the Final Fantasies, I think that one has the coolest intro to this day.
Definitely.
It's still largely interactive, and it's a really cool way to bring in, like, the entire cast.
Yeah, it's nice that you get to play as everyone as well. Like, you never get that. Maybe not the only person you don't get to play as is Garnet, but you do
Which
get to
reminds me,
control.
we haven't talked about Vivi at all.
No, Vivi.
I don't want to cry on a recording.
I think Vivi
I
is...
think a lot of people got a soft spot for Vivi. Like, even if you're a tough person or not, it's like, God damn it, Vivi.
There's just something so likable about him. Like, the first time you see him, he trips over and you just think, oh... And then that's kind of it.
Yeah, he trips and the sign maker loses his focus and the sign falls. Like, I love the little details in the opening like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, where a guy comes down from a sign to berate you and then you see them kind of, you know, flopping around with a ladder. Like, it's just a well-animated game. And I think the fact these characters are so weird and cartoony really helps with the fact that it's a well-animated game.
Yeah. I think
watching Freya do a river dance was awesome, too.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool. I love that piece of music. But Vivi is probably he's endearing and literally he's so iconic because everyone's like, oh, it's a black mage, it's Vivi. People kind of interchange the two of them now, so but Vivi is really, I think, the reason why people mistake this game as kiddie, and it's not, because you imagine being 9 years old as Vivi is and then coming across something that's not an exact copy of you, but to find out that you're essentially part of a series of dolls that don't have any particular purpose other than to kill. And then
you're the best dressed one.
You are the best dressed one. And his hat goes pointy when he goes into trance as well, and it's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, this trance outfit. It looks so magnanimous.
Yeah, he's trying to be magnanimous and he's just tiny. He just needs a little stool and then he's like perfect. But Vivi has...
It's great when you see him actually get mad, though, right? Because, like, him and his people kind of have a lot of line and a lot to prove in a short amount of time.
Yeah, we keep referring to all these FMV cutscenes, so we should say probably the FMV cutscenes in this game are insanely good. Like, all of them are so dramatic and so
No, you know
perfect.
what it is? It's the Final Fantasy games that did not have any voice acting to work with and very little amount of disk space made the most out of those FMVs.
Yeah, really.
They were concise and they were beautiful.
It was so good. The bit on the cargo ship on the way to Lindblom where you fight the Black World 3 and he goes absolutely bananas. It's amazing. That's so cool. It's just the one
but
moment
then you have
where
black mages defending him too, like where they're kind of sentient. You know, they defend him and, you know, he just sees them kind of getting killed in front of his eyes by another one of his brethren and he just wants to know why are people treating them this way.
Yeah.
And it is pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, young or not, you know, you kind of get what he's feeling.
I like when you get to the Black Mage Village eventually in Disc 2, it's kind of his awakening moment, and I really love that little...
Look for how silly that village is. They do put a moment of silence in the cemetery, too.
Yeah.
Oh, God. When you talk to the Black Mage up there about their friends just stopping.
Oh, it's awful.
They just stop. Ah!
Oh, it's so horrible, isn't it? It's a euphemism, but it's so awful. It's there. There's not...
When they... sorry, I'm getting emotional over here.
A very full life. He gets married to Kina. You know? he meets somebody else, maybe his age.
Yeah.
The best part about that is how genuinely happy Kina is the entire time.
I'm so happy.
Me too. Oh, yes. So, yeah, Vivi probably has one of the strongest character arc in the game. But the other, we've not spoken about the other white mage of the group, Aiko, who I have a nice soft spot for. She's like one of the nicer child characters in RPGs, I think. And she's she's always my white mage of choice because she has holy.
Yes. She was the better white mage. I'm sorry, everybody.
She is a better white mage. She's the better white mage.
Statistically, she is. She has so many more actual healing spells.
Well, she gets...
While Garnet has more summons.
Yeah, she gets double white, whereas Garnet gets... what is it? Special summon, whatever.
Yeah, it's like the enhanced strength for the Adolins.
That's right, yeah.
One thing I like is Aiko comes before a period of, like, you know, kind of very bratty trope of child characters.
She
really
does.
Hitting hard.
Yeah.
So she's a bit bratty, but she's still pretty realistic, and she's like kind of a really silly young girl in love with the older brother kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean it's justified as well because she does go through so much awful stuff.
Like, I feel like a lot of little kids have that moment where they're totally crushing on somebody, like, you know, in high school, and it's innocent, completely innocent, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, but she's still really cute and being kind of like a new little sister to Garnet. So I think she strikes a really nice balance between being bratty and still being very sisterly.
Yeah, I really love her relationship with Garnet. It's like you said, the little sister, big sister thing, and I really like the kind of bond that they build throughout the game, which culminates in them summoning Alexander, and I'm just losing my... But yeah, she's definitely one of the... she's definitely probably the best child character. I can't think of any better that's been.
I love her, yeah.
She's adorable, and as I said, my white mage of choice at all times. She's also responsible.
She's really silly too. Like I like when she's talking to some of the weirdos on Terra, and she's like, "Was that you with your man?" She's like, "My man? What? It's not like that."
Yeah, she doesn't understand. She also ends up accidentally hooking Beatrix and Steiner up,
Yeah.
which is great.
100%
I love the love.
responsible for their relationship.
She definitely is, but she's pretty happy about it as well. Like, she wants it for the intended purpose, like for Zidane, but then it ends up getting those two together, and she's still pretty happy with it, which is really nice. So she's not like...
Some of the best moments in the series are totally those that don't contribute a damn thing to the plot, but man, I love that so much.
Me
and
too.
like, I even love when, you know, Beatrix and Steiner are coming close together and about to maybe do something. You hear what's his name, like,
Baku.
sneeze.
Baku
Yeah,
does,
Baku
yeah.
sneeze.
So
Baku,
good.
by the way, being like the best kind of like mentor dude
Yes.
for the short screen time he has. All of Tantalus, I love them. They're such a cool kind of in and out group.
They're really good, and you get to form a really quick bond with all of Tantalus because of what happens to
And they
Blanc.
kind of come in and out of the story too.
Yeah, I like that. I thought they were just going to get forgotten about, but I really liked that Marcus came in for the part of Disc 1 where it's just Dagger and Steiner, and then you've got, obviously, Blank, who gets revived, and then you go back and see Cinna, or
and like Blank and everybody helps out later, and like even though Zidane decided to leave the band, I mean, it's clear they're all still like blood brothers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they are his family.
Yeah.
We didn't talk
Which
much...
I think is an important message, right? And they kind of beat that down with Zidane's arc, is that it doesn't really matter, you know, where your home is. It's nice that you know, but it doesn't always matter.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you brought up Garnet earlier. Do we want to talk about her a little bit? Because I think she, like you said, the first time I played 9, I don't think I really clicked with her, but I think it was because I was going through an age phase where I was like, I don't want to like women who heal. I want to like women who do cool things, but now I'm just like, I want to like...
But you realize it's actually not that bad, and she is still tough for a healer, you know? Like, she's got a lot on her plate.
Yeah, she's a really good character. There is one thing that annoys me about her, and that's when you get her back and she loses her voice. And it's the most painful thing ever, because...
the fact that it translates really strictly to a gameplay thing really is annoying. I get it, and I think it's a great arc for her, because she does witness like destruction of everywhere she goes.
Yeah, definitely.
And only to be the next queen.
Yeah.
So, alright, time to clean this mess up.
Yeah, but she also has one of the most iconic scenes in the game for me, where she's standing at the altar and she cuts her hair off, and... Obviously, we know what that means traditionally, but it really sticks with me that she goes through. It's
a very Japanese thing. You cut your hair after something important happens.
Yeah, it's a new you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I liked her long hair better.
Oh, I like her short hair.
I just didn't like the way it was rendered in the game, where it's just like a very straight cut.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It
doesn't translate very well. She grows it back. It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, it did take a while for me to kind of get her thing, and you know, and also too, we just got to say it. 8, the 2 Final Fantasies kind of book ending this one, 8 and 10, have a relationship factor that does not come anywhere close to what Zidane and Garnet have.
No, Zidane and Garnet are
it was so
perfect
in the other 2.
It's so well done. It's just...
It's perfect. They're so cute.
I use endearing a lot in this podcast, but it is. That's exactly what it is. It's just...
I use charming a lot. This game just charms the pants off me.
Yeah, so I really love...
I'm just sitting there pantsless and so happy for everybody.
Yes, I just really love the way that Zidane is clearly infatuated with it. I keep swapping between the 2 pronunciations because I want to make sure I cater for all audiences.
Me too.
But yeah,
my boyfriend's really into football, so like whenever he sees it, it's like, oh, Zidane. I'm like, oh, yeah.
But yeah, their relationship is perfect because Zidane is clearly infatuated with her. He's like, oh, pretty woman.
She doesn't know if it's anything. She thinks he's just a flirt, and he is.
Yeah, and he is. But at the end of the day,
time.
She picks up on the signs and realizes how much good he's done and how much he's supported her. And he's not just a flirt. Like, he tends to... He's
actually giving her solid advice.
Yeah, he gives her advice, and he also adapts.
He's smart, and she's, way too much up the blue, with a silver spoon.
Yeah. But, yeah.
What was it? One thing I like too is there's 2 times where everybody kind of splits off and Zidane goes to the same bar in Lindblom.
Yeah.
And the first time you see it is right after Garnet leaves when you get her to the city and he's flirting with some waitress.
Yeah.
But the second time you see him is after a whole bunch of heavy game events go down and Garnet sees a lot and he's actually kind of sad that he can't really be there to kind of help her out and see how she's doing.
Yeah.
He's actually beating himself up a bit, and by that point it's kind of real.
Yeah.
Even the Tandles gang are hey, so how's it going? He's not really talking. It's hey, did Garnet dump him? He's just not saying anything. It's just kind of sad. Yeah, and that's when they release and Steam at Treno, which is just another great we did nothing this episode kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good bookend moment. So I guess Zidane, whatever country you live in, I guess we should talk about him because, I want to talk about him because he is probably, again, in my list of protagonists, he probably comes out on top for the whole of the series. He's definite. He goes through a massive character arc, and I think, it mirrors the Cecil and Golbez / Theodore arc in 4, but Zidane is such a breath of fresh air. Yeah, so he's a little bit like Locke in the sense that he's just I'm a chivalrous man, I do things, all pretty ladies kind of thing. But really...
Yeah, he's your typical thief, right?
Yeah, but
he is the worst thief, by the way. The worst.
We will get onto that. That's one nitpick I have. He is really, really fantastic. He's a breath of fresh air for the series after Mopey Squall and Cloud's kind of mental crisis kind of thing that he goes through. He's just absolutely adorable.
Mental crisis was very real and an actual breakdown.
Yeah.
And I like that Zidane's is more of a kind of growing up trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. His is fair too.
His is fair. That scene is another one of my favourite ones in Terror. Just the whole line it's not a boss gauntlet, but it's a high level enemy gauntlet kind of thing where you have to fight an Abaddon and a worm and dragon and something else, and you're just really, and all your characters, all the party members come up and tell him no, you need to get a hold of yourself, and he just pushes them away, but he's slowly coming towards some kind of resolution, and then Garnet comes along and says something that he would say, and it's the moment where you're just that's it, got it, they're there, it's there. And Zidane is very much needed in the plot. He's kind of both the breath of the lightness, but also he does get some really serious kind of chances, and for a lot of the game he kind of acts a little bit he's not necessarily the main character. A lot of stuff's happening around him and he just happens to be in part
fall
of it.
Into it. Yeah. I think the fact that he's so nonchalant at first makes him being dramatic even that much more serious, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
This is something he's really, really having hard feelings about, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Until everyone you're not alone's him and tells him to fuck that, buddy.
Yeah, so the Terror arc's kind of where he kicks off, but the only thing, obviously, the love story's not promoted in the game, but I think that's probably one of the biggest plot points in Final Fantasy IX. But yeah, Zidane is...
It's better when it's not based off that kind of love at first sight thing, where it's it took time.
Yeah, it's a classic, boy meets girl, boy loves girl, but girl is I don't really get it kind of thing.
Even that stupid story he tells Garnet in the little under cave ravine thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I just wanted to go with you. And then that just, completely was a panties dropping moment. As they drift out of the canal.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
I put my own words, I'm sorry.
That's fine. You're allowed to do that. I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, I think Nina's got a really fantastic cast of characters, and I think we've mentioned a couple of the side ones. Beatrix is probably my favourite side character. She is so cool. She also has the best piece of music in this game. But
oh yes,
Roses May is so good. So
that's a good
beautiful.
Song. It pissed me off in theater rhythm, but it is a really good song.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the side characters are really good. We'll probably touch on some of them as we go along. But I really, since we've been dipping quite a lot into the story, I think maybe I want to elaborate on some other things maybe. But I think Nine's story is, I keep repeating myself throughout this podcast, is again one of the best ones in the series, because it takes so many little nods from other games, but also manages to make its own kind of uniqueness. Like the comedy aspect of things makes it its own little thing. So I referred to the plot point where Zidane and Kuja are brothers, so it's mirroring Cecil and Theodore. But obviously Kuja never gets his kind of comeuppance in that he doesn't really realise what he's doing is wrong. But the Black Mages make up a really good chunk of the story, and how,
just as much as we can talk about characters, I feel like I can talk about places just as much too. Like, I know we went off about the Black Mage Village, but also Conde Petit is just so weird and fun.
It's a really nice break in the story. It's just like, is it Rally Ho? Is that what they say? Rally Ho! Yeah, I really love that village. It's a nice...
even the dungeons are so pretty and just interesting. Like, there's an upside down castle, for goodness sakes.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Like, even some of, like, what Terra does, where it's this kind of sci-fi alien world, but still kind of fantasy looking, is a really weird and interesting balance for that place.
It's beautiful. It's one of the most gorgeous places. Pre-rendered backdrop, soup blue. That's the thing about... But, yeah, I do really like... Because, you say Conde Petit, it really breaks up the story, because that is one of the sillier moments in the game, and we've already referred to it. But they say the only way you can get past this village is if you get married. And so we've already talked about Vivi and Kina's, but then Zidane's like, oh, Garnet, will you marry me? And she's just like, yeah, sure. And he's like, oh, wow, okay. He's like, I didn't realise it'd be that easy. This is marriage, Dagger. This is
both of their characters, like, it makes sense for both of them, where he's like, oh my god, yes, and she's like, we gotta do this, we gotta get going, we're on a mission.
The entire time, his internal monologue that you see in the thought bubbles is just him being like, oh man, like, I didn't know this would happen. He goes in for the kiss at the end, and she just straight jukes him.
Yeah, just, bye.
Yeah. There are some villages as well that don't get as much spotlight, so I think this is again partly to do with the music, why I remember it so well. Esther Gaza, which is at the bottom of Mount Galag, is a really pretty icy city, but it's kind of home to... nothing really happens there. There's loads of priests there and everything, but I really like Mount Galag as a dungeon, because obviously it refers back to Final Fantasy I's Mount Gulg or Gulag. I don't know.
Glad they brought the music back too, which is just a nice shot.
Perfect. Yeah, it really foreshadows the bit with Aiko where I think it's Zorn and Thorn have captured her and taken her to the bottom. There are just so many moments in Final Fantasy IX that stand out that it's really hard to squeeze it all in, and I think we've probably touched on most of them with all of the characters, because I think each one has a particular arc that one of us remembers really fondly. Like Zidane's little moment in Terra, or Vivi's moment with the Black Mages, or whatever. But I'm struggling to think of a particular moment now that we haven't spoken about. I suppose we've not really spoken about the bit in Alexandria. We have touched on it, where I think it's the beginning of Disc 3, or is it the end of Disc 2? I get muddled. Where you go back. This is
I always forget you don't even completely explore the Mist Continent as of end of Disc 1.
No, you don't, do you? You have to...
Second disc, you're on the second continent, so they really squeeze a lot into the game.
Yeah, they really do. But yeah, Alexander, like the summoning of Alexander, basically. So you go back with everyone reunites. It's the time where all 8 characters come back together, and it's where I think Freya and Beatrix team up for a little bit to fight the monsters, and then Beatrix goes off with Steiner to fight some more monsters, and Zidane's trying to rescue Garnet, and then they summon Alexander, and just so much stuff goes on. I think they're 2 separate story arcs as well, but they're just so good, and I think this game does cinema so well.
That's well said, yeah.
Yeah, it does everything so well.
Each end of disc set piece is really nice, and the way it kind of brings you into it is kind of going intermission at a play.
Yeah.
Where they tend to switch up the scene a bit.
Yeah, so the end of disc 2 is at the Ether Tree, isn't it? Where Queen Baran dies, so Kuja summons Bahamut, doesn't he? And I think so.
Oh, we still have to talk about Kuja, too.
Yeah, we do need to talk about Kuja. Let's talk about him now, actually.
I actually thought Brain was a really cool, kind of silly villain. Like, she's a bit over the top, but I still like that they give her moment at the end, too.
Yeah, she's very much self-absorbed in... Like,
she's easy to make fun of, but I mean, I guess that was kind of the point.
She's horrible, but she does have this moment where it's so hard. Like, you spend so much of the game kind of laughing and hating her, but then when she's dying on the beach and Dagger's sitting with her, you do feel a little bit sorry for her, because did she just lose her way? I think
Vivi was watching too.
Yeah, Vivi has that little monologue.
Yeah.
Which, for a character like him who's kind of, been given sort of a death sentence, it kind of just makes that more real to him, I guess, and it's so heartbreaking.
It's horrible. But yeah, it's just so touching, that scene where they're on the beach, and it's horrible because, was she led on? Was it her own grief? What was it exactly? Because everyone goes on about she changed when her husband died, and you have to think of maybe how much did Kuja do? And I mean, obviously Kuja was pulling her strings the entire time and was totally using her, because that's what he does with a lot of people. But yeah, she's a really... They never explain why she's blue. Please, somebody explain why she's blue. And, like, she's genuinely... I mean, obviously, Garnet is not her real daughter, but...
Amaranth's blue too, yeah, and they just don't really answer that. That said, I do love the fact there are bird people in this game, and they just look hilarious in beautiful dresses.
Yeah. They're not given a race. They're just people who are birds.
Just birds. Yeah, nobody really seems to fault the bird people. It's just, they're part of society. Upper society, lower society. I love hippo people.
Yes.
Oh, they're so cute. The little kids.
His name is Hippal. I mean, But no, yeah. Kuja, who has the best legs in the series.
He does. He has fantastic... Has the best hair in the series. I mean, it's so silvery and shiny. It's gorgeous.
I actually like his aesthetic, yeah, and he's even got, like, the fancier white dragon. Like, it's not just a scaly green dragon, no. It's, like, some sort of feathery, pretty thing.
No. He really absorbs... He really absorbs the kind of, like... I say theatre villain, not, like, trying to demean him, but, like, he's so poetic. Like, he quotes, "I want to be your canary," and he throws out lots of poetry, and he's always like, "Oh, I'm gonna, I'll close the curtains on you," kind of thing. He's so over-dramatic.
It's very much that foppish villain.
But I guess that's what makes his kind of final moments that much more real, is that it's not really out of character for him to react.
No, exactly.
Or to overreact.
Like, his overreaction is so so
strong,
so strong, and completely the opposite. Like, he's very much fabulous, for lack of a better word, and kind of prances around as if he owns the world, and then he just completely loses it to find out that he is the failed version, or like the lesser version of the Angel of Death.
Second place.
Yeah, he's second place, and he's just like, how am I worse off than that? And
instead of accepting it with grace like Vivi does, he instead decides to take it all with him.
Yeah.
So I actually find, like, comparisons between Kuja and Vivi and the way they decide to kind of go out is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. He's so... Like, Vivi wants to learn more about the world and is so open, whereas Kuja is so vapid and so, like, self-absorbed and vain.
If I can't have it, you can't have it.
Exactly. Yeah, he just throws all his toys out the pram, which he does because he destroys an entire planet. So,
Which I think is a lot more scarier and slightly more realistic than your standard, like, take over the world, is that, like, no, some people just, want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, but I mean, the only other villain that's done that is Kefka, but Kefka destroys the homeworld and becomes God. So, yeah, I mean, there's some comparisons.
It doesn't really fake a lot of sympathy from Zidane. Like, Kuja's evil and he keeps it that way, but I love his final interaction with him.
Oh, it's so beautiful, it's so good.
Which I think kind of solids in the fact that they are still family. Yeah, it is what it was.
Zidane's whole choice to go back, like. Yeah, everybody's asking him why.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, no, I have to do this,
Yeah.
If he were in my shoes, or if I were in his shoes, I might have done the same thing. Like, it's like, man, you really understand. Like, why are you so nice?
Yeah, I think Kuja's an underrated villain because people always talk about. I mean, I think he's had his kind of renaissance like the entire game, but people always go on about Kefka and Sephiroth and.
I hate Sephiroth.
Yeah, he's too pretty. I'm gonna say it right now. He's too pretty.
But yeah, like
yeah. Never mind. That's for another day.
That's for another day. But I do. But I think Kuja is really, really well done, and he fits the entire tone of 9 really perfectly, I suppose. So, yeah, I think people need to pay him some more respect because he's not just kind of like swishy hair, fluffy dragons, feathery dragons.
I just wish he was the actual final boss.
Oh yay! Woo!
Like,
my favorite trope.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of fun fan theories about Necron, but none of them really hold up. It's like fine.
It's like giants basically out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the Final Fantasy VIII death theory, but that one makes more sense. But oh my god, yeah, I remember the first time I did that. I didn't really think of anything at first. I just was playing it like little kid. I was like, oh yeah, final boss, and then Necron turned up. I was like, oh, final boss, and I was like, and then when I played it again, I was like, why? Like what? I feel like Steven
by the end of the game though, when you're doing like 8 times reflect off Vivi to cast a spell, and then you're just like, whatever. Bring it.
Yeah, pretty much. But I feel like Steven would have something to say because I was talking to Rob Steinman a couple of weeks ago planning a feature for the site which was going to also go up, and he was like, we should put something in about Necron popping up at the end as an honourable mention kind of thing. So yeah. And he said, I just want to get a reaction out of Steven, so...
Quotes Yoda for Pete's sakes, man.
He does.
That's true.
He
Fear
does
leads
quote
to anger. Anger leads...
Hate leads to suffering. It's like, okay, evil Yoda, thanks.
That's like a standard RPG quote now, isn't it? It's like in like so many different things. But yeah, other than not being the final boss, I mean, Trance Kuja is the best final boss out of that last 2 or 3.
His theme music is pretty kicking.
I love Kuja's theme.
We
exactly.
will rock you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's immortal.
I didn't realize until like a second playthrough is that it makes Zidane's trance abilities that much more ominous than in hindsight.
Doesn't it really? Yeah.
Because a lot of them are just very destructive attacks. You know, there's nothing really fancy to it. It's just a very one-shot kill-all kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's true. His dyings kind of come out of nowhere when you compare it to everybody else's trance abilities.
Even that fancy outfit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he goes kind of like total naked, doesn't he?
He does.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just covered in monkey hair.
Oh yeah, Zidane, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's just very hairy, which, I don't know, kind of makes me picture other things. It's crazy.
So does Amaranth, weirdly enough, and I find that interesting. Amaranth's trance...
Weird.
Yeah, it's very similar to Zidane's in a way.
Freya's and Steiner's gets like a complete face metal.
Yeah.
Amaranth's just looks frightening. Like, it looks incredibly boss-like almost. It's pretty cool. Garnet's looks really nice just because I hate the standard thing she wears in the game, that weird one-piece orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. Kina looks like a even more bombastic chef.
I love Kina.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool.
He's cook.
Yeah, to cook.
Not eat, cook. Yeah. Aiko gets wings, doesn't she? And she also gets a more prominent horn.
Yeah, she gets a more prominent horn.
Which is ironic because she doesn't, her summons aren't as good, but never mind.
It's okay.
Yeah, and we've also talked about Vivi's pointy hat, which makes me very happy. But yeah, since we're on the topic anyway, let's go on to the battle system because I mean it's pretty classic Final Fantasy in this instance.
Vanilla.
It's vanilla Final Fantasy, I would say. Trance is a tiny bit annoying because you don't have much control over when it goes up, and it takes forever to go up. So you don't have any control of when you can use it. And then I remember when I used the walkthrough to play this when I was a little kid, it was like, build up your trance before this boss, and I'd look at the meter and it'd be like right at the bottom, and I went, no! Why would I do that? Why would I waste my time when I could just use Dragon Crest on it kind of thing? Like... You know, but
you guys ever find a best party for yourselves? I noticed most dynamics seem to have worked.
Yeah, really. I mean, most people go for the standard, the first 4 that you get. So Zidane, Vivi, Steiner, Garnet. But I always go with Zidane, Vivi, Freya, and Eiko, just because they're my 4 favourites, I think. So, and they work. So, like, Eiko's the best white mage. Vivi's black magic, apart from when you do 8 reflect, of course, it kind of peaks too early. So, like, he's really good early game, and then when you get to the end of the game, it kind of plateaus.
Feels like there's really nothing left for the character to kind of power up on.
Yeah.
If you got an elemental weakness, you're gold, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, his spells probably cap at, like, 5,000 or 6,000, whereas Freya, if you do enough training with her, like, I trained my arse off on Grand Dragons for a good 4 hours in the game. Dragon Quest will always... that's... Mike is coming into my brain. Dragon Crest. Dragon Crest does 9999 without fail every time. But
I always found it easier to max out Kina's frogs. I don't know why. I had a stupid amount of fun collecting frogs like some mindless idiot.
Yeah, that is very easy to do as
well.
But yeah, like, every party works. That's the really good thing about it. There's not many RPGs, like, even 6 where you have 14 characters. Not every party always works. There are characters who do and don't work. And even though you have to make them work, it's like there's an alternative who's better. But you just have to use them because it splits them into 12 for groups, 3 groups of 4. But it's like one of the only RPGs where I can think that every dynamic works, apart from all the ones which level all your characters up outside of battle. But did you guys? Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I do think it is necessary to have at least one of the healers in your party, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can substitute Kina for probably
True. Kina can do some stuff with it. Yeah.
I did find it really annoying that, like, unless a mage was healing or attacking, they did like 9 damage with their staff. I don't know. I always thought this game's battle, like, it's vanilla and it's completely harmless, but certain parts of it are just super annoying.
Yeah. So, one common complaint, and I didn't want to complain too much about the game, but which has been fixed as we noted at the beginning with the speed up, is that the battle system's quite slow. The ATB bar is pretty slow. It's never really bothered me too much. I like playing games fast, but I don't really have too much of a problem with the slowness. The other thing which we've already referred to, and is probably my pet hate because I do this every playthrough, is Zidane is the worst thief ever. Like, his steal rate is ridiculous, and I think one monster...
Is that like a way to balance out how strong he is? Because he is one of the stronger party members, right? As the lead character, but it's so annoying. I never stole the 3rd item from the hill Gigas or whatever.
I was just about to say that. Everyone has the same problem. Yeah, there's a 3rd item. It's a flute, isn't it? Is it a flute?
Yeah, it's actually a really good item, but it literally took me an hour and a half before I gave up. Like, I didn't even get it an hour and a half later. I was just like, this is so stupid.
I wonder whether I might try it with the speed up now that I'm sort of slowly replaying the PS4 version. But yeah, it's painful. Like, the ones I always try and get 1 weapon and 1 armor, and one I always try and get, which is also a pain in the backside to get, is off of Arc, and you can get the Holy Lance about 5 hours before you can buy it. So Freya's got goes up from like having 40 attack to 75. I'm just like, oh well, she's done for a while. Don't have to buy anything for her for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's yeah.
And Arc does a lot of damage at that point in the game.
Yeah, he really does, doesn't he? He's also a really weird summon. He's so, it's like Transformers meets Xenogears summon. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's fine. Don't think about it too hard. It's just cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's totally cool.
Generally, I loved how bombastic a lot of like that era of Final Fantasy final summons were.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But yeah, they're the only 2 things that really bother me about it. But otherwise, it's very vanilla. But I do like the ability system that the game has, and it's not too taxing. Like, I'm not a fan of the materia system from 7 too much, and the draw system is so easy to break that learning abilities off of weapons is a really nice, easy thing to do, and it means I can keep track of everything. It keeps my brain nice and organized, and I appreciate that. Like,
there's definitely a few RPGs out there that just add way too much, and it's just easy to get lost. So I do just like Final Fantasy IX, just keeping it nice and basic.
Yeah, you do get some really... Everyone gets some unique abilities as well, so none of the mages can learn, like, Beast Killer, Mage Masher, and things like that. But, like, Zidane gets Protect Girls, obviously. Of course he does. And then the healers get Chemists, don't they? So they can, like, up items, like, they're...
Yeah.
And then I think...
Yeah, it all made sense in world and all that kind of stuff, so I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I did really like the ability system. It's nice and simple. But yeah, I mean, summons aren't particularly great in this game. They're not like... I never used them, but I did get to a point where in a playthrough I had enough MP to use a summon with Garnet before I'd gotten to the stage where they'd halved. So I think I had like 200 MP or 150 and was just like, oh yeah, Ifrit.
Yeah, there's 80.
Yeah. So,
one thing I did like, it was the first game to introduce shorter summons, finally.
Yeah.
Like, after 7 and 8, as glorious as those summons were, it just became too much of the summon show whenever those things showed up.
Yeah, you only get the extended scene, don't you, if you have Grand Summon on.
Grand Summon, yeah.
Or you can turn it off.
That was a good choice.
Yeah, it is a good choice. But I do like that they use some of the classic ones as well. So, I mean, they use all the classic ones. Like, Garnet gets the typical classics. Apart from Atomos. Does she get Atomos, I think? Which is...
Yes, she does.
Oh, like, wow. That's pretty. Like,
I've never gotten Atomos to work, though. I always miss.
Yeah, I can't remember how to get it to work, but I don't really use the summons very often. Aiko gets some of the more unusual ones, so she gets Medine, which is Madwyn from... Is it Madwyn in this game or Medine? I always get them confused with 6.
I think it's Medine in this game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, so yeah, it's referencing that one?
It's Mog, yeah. It's one
yeah.
of them. Yeah. I mean, she gets that. She also gets Arc. She gets Titan, and she gets...
I remember Fenrir being alright. I think it was just a stats booster.
I think so, yeah.
No,
that's
Carbuncle was the stats booster.
Yeah.
Fenrir was all about the earth damage.
That's right.
You generally never needed them, but they were good support.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually until this playthrough that I found out you can actually change how Carbuncle boosts your party depending on what accessory Aiko is
yeah.
Did you not know that?
Summons are
I had
kind
no
of
idea.
Oh my god.
Aiko's got some really interesting summon conditions, but like generally they all vary depending on what you have in your party. Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you equip a diamond, it'll do Diamond Shield, which I think casts Shell, maybe? I
think it's like Shell and Protect.
Possibly, but yeah.
Okay, so Fenrir is powered up by the amount of sapphires in your stock.
That's
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
You can get more HP if you have a certain skill equipped with Phoenix. If Aiko equips the Diamond and summons Diamond Light, it'll also do Vanish on your party. If Aiko equips an Emerald, then it also casts Haste. If Aiko equips the Moonstone, then Carbuncle does Shell on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Aikos are all kind of weirdly conditional to weird stuff in you.
I like that. It's very clever. It's not I've ever done it before or after.
There's a lot of weird little things in this game. Like, you can get a whole bunch of really high-level items really early if you stick your nose to the side quest.
Yeah, you can. Which I want to move on to now, definitely, because this game has loads of side quests, and in particular, so many. I mean, there are obviously some of the mini games like Tetramaster's not as good as Triple Triad, but it's okay as a substitute. Yeah. I enjoy playing it.
I didn't focus any time on either of them.
Oh, no, I like
Sorry.
All I'm going to say is one of them made it into Final Fantasy XIV, and it wasn't Triple Triad.
They improved it. So...
did you ever play Blackjack at the end of the game?
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, after the credits roll, you type in a certain command, and you can actually play, I think, Blackjack.
What?
Or, yeah.
I remember
I
that.
didn't know about this.
I remember
I think it's the game of 21.
Yeah. Oh wow! Yeah, but there are.
So yeah, you can race the ball. You can do the stupid the jump rope thing.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I can't. I can only get one, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at jump rope. I will never see that trophy on the
I think
PlayStation
I
4.
find it very funny that people have reacted in the way they have to the thousand.
Oh, to the jump rope trophy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you don't have to platinum everything, everybody.
Right.
Like, just have fun. Play
But
what
it's
you
the
want.
temptation that's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think devs put that in there just to like, and they like laugh maniacally, like, you know.
Pretty much, yeah.
Good luck, yeah.
So obviously one of my favourite side quests is the Mognet side quest, which is the most adorable side quest in the world. So you get
Look how cute they are. They have a giant book that they throw down to save.
Yeah, they have a little scribble. They're little fluffy. They've got like really fluffy tufts. They're like the classic Moogle design and the design
Yes.
I always
Stiltskin
picture.
too. He's got like camouflage attire on. He goes and travels.
I love Stiltskin. He's so cute. They're all so cute. I like the couple in one of them's in Gizmaluke's grotto.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Gizmaluke's grotto where you have to save the wife and then they have the babies when you go back and just like it's like But yeah, Mognet is adorable. So you get to deliver mail for Moogles.
Their letters are really cute to each other.
Yeah, I love their little strop they have when they want mail. They're just like, I want mail. It's like so cute. I just want a Moogle so badly.
To get the full effect of this game, you definitely have to do it with girls, I think, so we can just freely squeal as much as we want when we get to this part.
Yeah, but the side quest does have a reward in that you can carry on doing it, and you basically find out that there's something wrong with the postal system on an island, and I think you have to use, is it something grease, isn't it? It's like gear grease or something that's really good.
Super slick.
Yeah.
Super slick. And yeah, it basically fixes it. I don't think you get anything particularly special out of it, and I think by the time I finished it, I already had the piece of equipment that I got. I was like,
It's a good rare piece, but yeah, by that point you already have one.
But it's fun to give mail to Moogles, and also buy something off of Stiltskin every time you see him.
Like, it's still all based around the Choco Hawk Cult, because I think you can only get there with Chocobo help.
Yes, that's right. So it's still
which leads to a whole bunch of other things, which leads to a whole bunch of cool Chocobo related locations.
But yeah,
like Pretty Lagoon.
Yes. So Chocobo Hot and Cold. I think every time I hear Balmo Ala de Flamenco, I always think of Chocobo Hot and Cold. Not the opening.
I'm glad they found an excuse
fight.
to reuse that song too.
Yeah, me too. It stresses me out a little bit though. So. Yeah,
you already know when the end is coming based on what point of the song it's at.
Yeah, I'm like, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I like the idea. I just like every time he pecks, he just makes a different noise. I like quack, quack, quack. It's so good. But there is
I love the weird dream sequences you get for that too. Every time you level up too, like you go to this weird, like over the top spiritual place of Chocobos dancing in front of you.
Yeah, you get to go there eventually as well. It's great.
It's like what?
It's a real place. Chubby Chocobos. I like the way their beaks change color as well. I've always thought that was really cute.
I didn't notice that.
I think they do anyway. It might not do for one of them, but I'm pretty.
Which is nice too, because Chocobo Hot Cold is a bit less intense than going through, inbreeding Chocobos.
It's a lot easier.
Final Fantasy VII, or like traveling the world map on Disc 4, which is really annoying on Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, sure is. But
yeah, that was weird.
We were speaking earlier, and I wanted to reference back to the speed up that the PS4 version gives you. So I was reading online that there's a way to get the Lord of Robes as early as the first Chocobo Forest in Lindblom. So because when you speed up the game, the timer doesn't speed up even.
Yep.
It still stays at second increments, so you can easily peck twice the rate. So you're basically doing 1 minute 20's work in 60 seconds. And obviously the more levels your beat gets, you have to play it for hours. You have to play it for a good hour or two, I think. Or 3 hours maybe. But yeah, you can get the Robe of Lords that easy. But why would
I will say though that your movement speed on Choco makes it a bit harder to get exact precision when doing Choco.
Yeah, really.
So you do have to deal with that too.
It's hard enough anyway. It's just like the amount of times that I've found a chocograph piece and then it been on like 10 pecks and then the timer runs out. I'm just like, oh, please.
Oh yeah, I've had some frustrations with that.
Like major RSI. So there are lots of really bizarre side quests dotted around everywhere, and I like that it's one of these games that doesn't make it very obvious. So you've got the Stellar coins as well, which get you nice little items, which are really, really nice. There's the coffee side.
I always hate when you get to Burmecia and it's like received cancer.
Oh, it's yeah, bad timing. But yeah. So there's also a coffee side quest where you have to bring
the old man.
Yeah, Morit and Dali. We have to bring in the coffee
get from
beans.
that? I've never done it.
I can't remember.
Miniature Prima Vista, and I think that's it.
Yeah, there's a lot of side quests that don't really seem to go anywhere, but you get a kind of cool item, a little cool story, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think
that's like that's the reward in itself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there are like tons of side quests. They do like more character building than anything, which is really nice. And I don't think this is a side quest, but really like the Black Mage Village again, which I'm going back to, where you go there once and they find a chocobo egg and they start raising it, and then you come back.
Yeah.
They call it Bobby. It's Bobby.
Bobby Corwin or something like that.
Bobby Corwin.
Bobby Corwin.
Is that a name for something or anything, or is that just what they named it? Bobby
I've
Corwin.
heard it somewhere before, and it's driving me nuts right now. Trying to figure it out.
I don't remember it referring to anything, but someone's bound to correct me. But something we talked about before starting the podcast is, famously, about 4 years ago now, there was a side quest that had been discovered in-game that nobody had ever discovered before. So, 13 years after the game released, there's a side, which is amazing. That's how ingrained and how...
I love that kind of stuff.
How ingrained and deep this game is. So basically, at the beginning of Disc 4, you can go to Zidane's hideout, and there's a character wandering around, and then you go to another zone, and every time you do something, basically, something new happens, so you go back so many times. You have to do something in Memoria, or you can go do a side quest. A different character will be wondering where somebody else is. All you get for it is a protect ring, though. It's like, I've already got 4 of these things, like, you can buy them, but it was just kind of proof that so much work went into this game to make everything tie in really well. It's so fantastically done, the side quests. I don't think there's one I particularly dislike, because all of them are beneficial and all of them are worth it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get
it's even fun figuring out like Garnet's name, and I like that you got like Lonnie hanging around there.
Yeah.
But she won't stick around if you have somebody in the party who, she's kind of at odds with.
So either Amaranth or Freya, possibly.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But no, there are so many side quests in these games. We've just picked out a couple of them, but God, this game.
Oh yeah, Doga and Una's mirror or whatever.
Oh, Una and Doga.
Yeah, and you get to listen to some of the music.
Final Fantasy III reference.
Yeah.
Speaking of references,
naming way card. Yeah, go on. Yeah. You can just go on all day with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Final Fantasy IX is fantastic. And I think even, like, one of the things that I really love about the game is that even though it's the first Final Fantasy I played, it, like, still made me feel really nostalgic for a series that I'd never played. It was, like...
Yeah.
It made me feel connected to the whole entire art. And, I mean, Sakaguchi has gone on record of saying that this is his favourite Final Fantasy, so...
Of course.
Yeah.
Why not? I agree, yeah. You can tell the most amount of, heart, like, to be cheesy, but heart and soul went into that one.
But no, Keegan, you were going to say something about references.
Yes. Reference that I just discovered 5 seconds ago.
Ooh.
Bobby Corwin, when you take his name and take the first 2 letters of first and last, it's Boko, a.k.a. the Chocobo from Final Fantasy.
It is! Of course it is!
Oh, that's so cute.
Butts and Boko.
The Warring Triad makes a cameo appearance in one of the dungeons.
It's in Desert Palace, isn't it? Or
yeah. There's a statue of a lady and 2 demons on the other side of her.
There's of course Garland, aka the main villain from Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah.
Shows up as a significant villain in 9.
I think that's actually a kind of cool twist too. Like they kind of made him a very traditional, final boss until kind of Kuja upstages him.
Yeah. Isn't Pandemonium as well, which is the palace?
Yeah.
Isn't that a reference to Final Fantasy II's Final Fantasy?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. The music there's a slowed down version as well, I think. Freya gets a weapon called Kane's Lance, which is obviously a reference to Kane. I think she also gets the Whale Whisker, or one of the girls does, which is also a weapon somewhere else in the series.
I really love that name for some reason.
Whale Whisker's a lovely name. I'm trying to think of what it's in at the moment.
Save the Queen.
That I'm... There was something I saw it in recently. I might have just... Oh, it was Final Fantasy 12. Of course it was. It's a spear. Yeah. It's one of... It's either a spear or a rod.
I thought it was even nice seeing like Garnet dressed up as a white mage, and as far as basic hiding gear goes, I thought that was cute.
Yeah, really, really good. Other ones off the top of my head I can think of. Obviously there's the famous No Cloud Nor Squall Shahindurus.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's really cute.
There's a sword, isn't there, in one of the weapon shops, which...
Ramu's story at the Pinnacle Rocks, it talks about a character from Final Fantasy II, I think.
It does, yes!
Yeah.
Oh.
Really? I have to double check that one.
Yeah.
You don't realise how much has gone into it until you go into it.
One of the ships is named the Invincible, which was the name of another ship.
4, I think. Final Fantasy 4, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are touching so many of them, but there's so many.
The Hildegard
more.
kind of looks like the lunar whale.
Yep, it does.
The antlion. Yeah, the antlion enemy.
Oh, the antlion enemy is good.
Yeah, that almost ate Edward in Final Fantasy IV.
Yep.
What else?
Nothing else is springing to mind at the moment, but there's so many.
Oh yeah, one of the synthesis shops has like a tall, medium, and a fat statue that looks like the Mega Sisters.
Oh my god, I missed them.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
where was it? I think it's in Alexandria.
Huh.
Alexandria or Treno, I forgot which.
Might be Alexandria.
Oh,
I
the
don't
four-armed man. I don't know why I never connected who that was at first.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the 4-armed man in Gilgamesh. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just chock-a-block. It's a celebration. Really, it's ideal that we're doing this as the first episode for the celebration thing, because Final Fantasy IX is a celebration of what makes Final Fantasy IX so good. And in turn,
Yeah, and they did such a good job.
Yeah, they have done a fantastic job. Because you brought up a
I
synthesis...
like that they got some pretty cool secret bosses. Like, I thought Ozma and Hades were a really cool idea.
Yes.
Ozma is evil. Ozma is really hard. Hades isn't
I
too
love
bad.
the design, though. I think it's so interesting.
It's the most bizarre thing ever, isn't it? It's like a marble.
Yeah.
It's like a gobstopper or a marble. Like,
I like the theater rhythm description. It's like, what happened when you stared into nothing and just this kind of crazy cataclysmic array of colors instead happened.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's weirdly eerie.
yeah. It's very bizarre. Hades isn't too bad either.
I love his design.
Yeah, it's really cool.
His
There's
dialogue changes
eye
depending
motive.
when you fight him.
I'm told by Peter that apparently there is concept to say that Hades was meant to be the real final boss of the game.
Yeah, I read that too because apparently Terra has a very much eye motive, similar to what's like on Hades' throne.
Oh.
So I can kind of see how it would. I mean, hey, anything would be better than Necron, in my opinion. But,
There's one part of that I actually find really like kind of underlooked at is there's a really cool scene when you arrive on Terra and you see is it the Invincible, that blue ship at the end? That you
Yeah,
get?
the Invincible Eye, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, Garnet always thought it was this one giant, all-destroying eye, but really it was just the bottom of that ship that you're using to save the world in the end.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The irony's not really lost on her.
That eye is really creepy as well. It's like,
It looks like an eye, but when you see it up close, you realize it's not. It's just her young imagination not really knowing what else to call that.
oh yeah.
that always confused me because the FMV in Alexandria too, when Bahamut gets summoned,
vague,
it's
yeah.
an eye there too, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, so it looks like an eye, but the fact is, it was just her kind of misremembering. It was actually just the bottom of the Invincible turning red.
Yeah.
Oh, Ragtime Mouse has those cards in Final Fantasy X, which obviously wasn't released yet.
He does.
So, yeah, you can see FF10 written on the cards, which I thought was really cute.
That is cool.
Huh.
So even
I never
though-
completed all of his quests. I just didn't have enough luck to constantly encounter him.
I think you can reset it on disc 4 if you just go into a town and then go into a random forest. He'll pop up. There are certain forests he'll come up in. I've done it a few times, so...
I had him a few times on Vile Island, which I swear to God I'm never going to again.
Vile Island is wonderful. I just... yeah.
Yawns are the worst thing.
Were you trying to get the friendly Yan?
No, not even that.
I
just
love
want
that you have to
grind
go
a little
there to
bit.
do that too, right? They really make you play with fire.
Like, okay, story time. Towards the end of the game, I kind of got lazy with grinding. So in the PS4 version, you can turn on 999 mode, where every hit, no matter who does it, hits them for 9,999, which is ideal if you're late game grinding and you just don't want to deal with constantly getting killed. Even with that on, the yawns are still a nightmare because they just snort you away.
I hate them.
You're gone. You can't be revived.
You have to
They
get...
picked up the entire team once, and I had to restart the whole. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a flashback.
I think it's very appropriate that they made one of their toughest enemies look as adorable as it does.
Yeah,
I feel like it's almost a metaphor for the game.
Yes.
Don't take it lightly.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for yelling there. I was
no,
very
it's fine.
emotional.
You have to get really lucky with Odin or death, don't you? And it's like the percentage of that happening is like none.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I avoid Vile Island as much as I can, but yeah. Actually, the one side quest I didn't mention was the friendly animal side quest where you have to give them so many crystals or ores or anything
I
like
love
that.
the music too.
So
It's so
cute.
cute. That's the same music that plays with the ragtime mouse music.
Yeah,
But
but it really sets the pace for the battle while it's loading, where it just kind of it lowers your expectations and kind of makes you feel it, take a breath.
I know. I
Like,
remember
all right.
remember the first time I heard it. I was like, "What is going on?" And I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "Give me an ore." I was like, "Oh, right, yeah."
A little off topic, but I love Final Fantasy VIII with the stupid UFO thing too.
Made you think of that.
I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that. But yeah, I mean,
there's just a lot to decompress out of this game.
there was really loads. I mean, we've touched on a couple of like some of the music before. I think Uematsu's actually said this was his favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, which actually really surprises me because I really like the soundtrack a lot, and it was the first one I ever bought. It's not my favorite though. There's some particular tracks that I really love from it, like Rose of May. I like Hagues' theme. I think the piano tracks are really strong in this game. I mean, I'm a big fan.
I even love, yeah, Zorn and Thorn's theme for that kind
Yes.
of honky tonk, bumbling, idiot villains.
Yeah, I like some of the weirder music as well. So like Madain Sari's got some really nice music.
That one's fun, yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds very, kind of surreal and mysterious and ancient, and then it does that kind of romantic French accordion.
yeah. The world map theme is pretty spectacular as well, but you only hear it for like an hour, like half of the game. Final Fantasy likes to do that. They give you the really good world map theme, and then they're like, nope, have the really droll one for the other half. But yeah, sorry, go on.
I found it was like a lot less instrumental, or like it was a lot more instrumental. It wasn't very fleshed out, but at least there was a lot of tracks.
Yeah, definitely.
And nothing really overstayed.
A lot of it is based off of obviously Melodies of Life. There's that running motif that goes through the entire soundtrack, which Rose of May does, which Song of Feeling is it? I think the song that Garnet sings, and a lot of the game has that as its sole motif in the music. Also, Grand Cross is the strangest but one of the coolest final boss themes ever. Like the creepy bit with the zombies groaning. It's like, all right, Necron's not a great final boss, but that music is a pretty good final boss music. It's similar to I forget what.
Kind of reminds me of like, I guess same generation, but a lot of Final Fantasy VIII's final boss.
Yeah,
where it's just kind of big, kind of alternative.
The Extreme. That's what I'm trying to
Dream
think of.
theatery, progressive rock.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as the Extreme because it has the slow beginning and then speeds up and then gets really intense. But yeah, I mean, Nine's soundtrack is good, but it probably doesn't come into it maybe just sneaks into my top 5, but probably 5 or 6, I would say, out of the whole series. It's a good showing for the entire series, and the nods to previous games as well, like Mount Galag and the theme.
I thought there was no track in that game that felt out of place. So like even if they weren't as interesting, everything always suited the occasion it had to play in. I even like Gargan Rue's kind of silly kind of dungeon theme. It sounds kind of buggy and icky, but it kind of works because you're traveling on giant insects.
Yeah.
Treno's, I think, is just classic.
Oh, I love Treno's. It's great.
Yeah, because it suits it so much. That kind of late night life in the, I guess, what is it, the 1800s that the world is supposed to look like?
Probably.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very jazzy. Like 18th century, 19th century jazz, if that was a thing.
Also, special shout out to Steiner's theme, which I like to call the lazy trombone.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful.
And just to hear that stupid metal clunking around, that and then he jumps up, which makes it clang even more.
I love that clang. It's one of
guys. I love Steiner so much.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the one I would totally get a figure of for my curio, for my gaming curio.
Yeah. They need to do more 9 figures. It's always Zidane and VV, but never any of the others.
Yeah, that's why this game I think is still kind of considered forgotten. It feels like they don't really want to replicate some of those characters because it's not as chic as how Noctis and Lightning look these days.
Yeah.
What?
I don't want chic.
Though.
I want rat people.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that with the PS4 remaster, though, maybe some new interest will be, garnered in Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
So maybe we will see more stuff. Hopefully.
I hope so as well. I'm glad that it's picked up steam in the last 5 to 10 years, 5 years maybe, that it's been reconsidered and everyone's sort of gone, you know what, this game is actually really important. And it was. It just came after Final Fantasy VII, which was
It came at such a weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came just before the PS2 era, and then, things were getting voice acted, and 9 wasn't doing that. But then neither were a couple of other RPGs on the PS1, so, But, has anyone got any last words before we kind of wrap up? And because we have waxed poetic about this game.
Yes.
We have literally gone all over the place. I'm in love with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't like this game, don't tune in. It's just going to be us, just absolutely having a blast talking about it. Oh, Memoria is a very pretty final dungeon.
Memoria.
It's anything goes
trippy
style. Is so lovely to look at.
Memoria.
Yeah, you can see the destruction and creation of Earth and life happening right in front of you. And it's just such a trip.
Yeah, the trip between Memoria and the Crystal Dungeon is weird. That Crystal Dungeon is crazy trippy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memoria is definitely the prettiest final dungeon of the series. And then you go into the inside of a whale for the next game, so But, I think we've pretty much kind of we haven't exhausted our love for 9, I don't think, but I think that's
it's just going to be us, waxing about it anyways.
Yeah. So.
I think it really does say something, though, that between the three of us, and I would say the hundreds of RPGs we've each played individually, that we can still talk so much about this one specific game and still feel so much about it really speaks miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It does nearly everything
right. There's faults in it, but overall I'm just so charmed by the characters, locations, and the overall message that it tries to send home is that I can't hate it.
No, and it does pretty much everything right. I don't, other than a couple of technical issues, I don't really have that many problems with it. I've just realised...
Oh, I like that Eco gets adopted by Sid and Hildy, and I forgot to talk about Sid.
I forgot to talk about Sid.
He's an Oglop, and then a frog, and a monarch, most importantly, but...
Gwok.
She calls him Dad.
Oh.
She calls him Dad at the end.
Oh. I think it's one of the first games to actually talk about a cheating spouse, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
I love that character arc. I love how it's just so...
And I think it's cute that in a Final Fantasy way, she, instead of running out and leaving, she casts a spell on him to turn him into an Oglop,
and he lies about
what's
it.
the ex-wife gonna do?
And he says at the beginning, I just got turned into an Oglop by some person who stole my wife. And then he's eventually no, my wife did it. It's okay.
Yeah.
I do think Hildy went back to him too easily.
Yeah, but there was a lot of content in the game. Same with
True.
Puck, right? It's they put him in and he's out as quick as he came in. Oh, did anybody else accidentally give the Gimme Cat a diamond? Because I did.
Almost.
I'm an idiot.
Thank
God no stranger offered me candy as a kid because I'd just be like, okay.
Yeah, I did it. I did it on my first playthrough, but I haven't done it since. So
I don't know why I trusted it. It looked like a thieving asshat. Oh
Also,
my god, the ending
doesn't change.
I love that it ends with a hug.
That ending is poetic.
Again, it starts with a play, it ends with a play.
Yeah. I want them to get married. Yeah. We've not even talked about the ending, but yeah, it's just...
I love that she kind of, hits him on the chest a little bit,
Yeah, she hits him! He's been gone for at least a few years.
Yuna and Renoa would never dare to do such a thing, but, Zidane's just enough of a pain in the ass that it warranted it.
Yeah.
Before she just kind of cries and just so happy that he's back.
Yeah. That is... I think it's a very good ending. And obviously, you've touched on it in the podcast, Keegan, that Vivi obviously meets some kind of an end, and it's so tragic, but there's tiny ones, so it's okay.
Yes. Which I'm curious about, just from an anatomical point of view. But, hey, more Vivis, though I have a lot of questions.
I always liked the way female black mages looked in Final Fantasy Tactics. You know, so it's a shame they didn't give one with kind of raggedy long hair.
Oh, that would have been so cool. But no.
Yeah, this game's good.
This game is special, and
I feel like we could extend this podcast 2 more hours, and we could still keep talking.
Definitely.
I like that Ruby got left behind.
Me too.
Yeah, she just starts up a play down there, and everybody forgot about her. That's so sad.
She does write to you a few times, doesn't she?
She
so
does.
You get some Mognet mail, and I like.
That's right. I also like when you're trying to leave the thieving band, right? And Baku has like a one final challenge for Zidane to prove himself okay out there. You know, and you take him down, and you know, then when he goes to give you that kind of friendly smack on the back, it really, really hurts Zidane. And he says, you know, oh, he threw all of his punches until the last one.
I like how Ruby's letters are written in her dialect. That was something that always amused me.
So many accents in that game. They had fun with that.
So many accents, so many races, so many everything. I never realised how jam-packed 9 is until I go and look at it, and I'm like, wow, there is so much stuff. There's actually a lot of,
like, even though the game doesn't have voice acting, it was really fun to kind of read everybody's accents.
Yeah, yeah, it was really good. But yeah, we could extend this podcast probably by another 2 hours, but yeah, I mean, but I don't think we could have kicked off Final Fantasy month in better podcast style, really, than talking about 9. So unless anybody else has got any more, like, contributions.
No, I guess I'll stop.
Yeah.
Not done,
don't
but
start
I'll
us
stop.
up again.
I'm not done either. I have to keep some decorum. But no, that will probably do us for episode 109 and the first episode for Final Fantasy month. I know, it's so fitting. Episode 109 for Final Fantasy 9. So I'll skip over some details for the month. So we're not actually doing a game journal month this month on Retro Encounter. As I've mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we are doing 4 episodes on Final Fantasy related topics. So we've got another game special, which I believe is the first entry in the series, possibly. We've also got a film podcast coming up, and I feel so sorry for Keegan, who's had to sit through all 3 of the films for this podcast. So
all right, only one of them made me want to die.
Okay,
I
know.
Can you give us a hint?
I know one.
It's the one that isn't based on a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
But I watched it first, and it made all the others magnificent.
Yeah.
All the other movies were so much better compared to that one.
Did you watch the Final Fantasy V based anime?
Oh God!
I don't want to.
She gets a crystal in her butt. Let that start the precedence.
Oh, that's such a good, yeah. But no, they're not watching those. They're doing 3 films, probably the main 2, Advent Children and Spirits Within. So definitely look forward to that one. We've also got a summary episode, which is basically going to be a combination of all our memories and experiences with the series. We've got site-wide features going up all month, so please look on the front page for those or on the features section. They are going to be jam-packed. We are jam-packing the site for November, so please come back to us all the time and read everything that we do. We love you all. So obviously going forward for December, Breath of Fire 4 is going to be our game of the month, and I'm so excited to replay that game. It's been so long since I've played it. I can't wait to go back to it. So that will
There's no game that kind of feels like an old fable being told in that one.
Yeah, it's really, really special. So look forward to that. Those 2 episodes are coming in December. So if you've enjoyed this episode, if you're a regular listener, if you're a new listener, then please continue to listen to us. You can leave us comments on the boards. You can email us at retro@rpgfan.com. You can review us on iTunes, Google Play, absolutely anything you want. As always, we love 5-star reviews, but we love any kind of comments, so please keep it up. We've got such a nice, good, strong fan base on this podcast. We want to keep it going and keep it growing and keep getting you involved, and we really, really love to hear from you. But otherwise, if you want to get in touch with us personally, Keegan, where can we find you on social media and boards and things?
Well, if you frequent the RPG fan boards, I'm Fozzie Bear on there. And if you're on Twitter, my handle is KayleeBrand. Pop by, say hi to me. I talk a lot about video games, and I always love talking to people.
Yay.
Hey.
Woo! Steph, where can we find you?
I usually respond to you on social media. Me and another guy, Nelson, we usually take care of that. But if you want to find me, I am on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr at Dice SMS, so DICE SMS.
Nice. Nice, some Tumblr promoting there.
Aha!
If you want to find me, I am at Alana Hagues on Twitter, or you can find me on the boards at Diving Falcons. Always willing to chat about things. Always up for talking about Final Fantasy. I've played 12 this year, playing 9.
Skies of Arcadia.
I'm always ready to talk about Skies of Arcadia. That's the other game that was released on this day in America, like the same day that this game came out. So special.
If I become like a millionaire producer, I promise you that'll be on my docket when I go see Sega about what to do next.
Hi, Sega. Yeah. Every time. It's becoming attached to me. I don't care. I want everyone to know about it. But this has been Retro Encounter. We've had an amazing time talking about this game. Please look forward to more Final Fantasy episodes this month, and we will speak to you again.